your eyes. Virtual Boy, see it now in 3D.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear. All right, perfect.
In Ready Player One, everybody is obsessed over an Easter egg quest in a virtual reality online video game called Oasis. The MMO promises whoever is the most addicted to 80s nostalgia will escape their shitty life brought on by climate change. Thus, a bunch of pop culture cosplayers duke it out against a giant corporation. However, no one has completed the first mission of this quest, a giant racing track. But then, our valiant generic anime fuckboy Wade Parseval Watts managed to complete the mission by doing what whole clans of pro gamers haven't thought of doing: driving backwards. Now, a lot of you fellow gamers probably found this scene complete fucking nonsense. In real life, speedrunners will try to find exploits as soon as the last byte has downloaded off the servers. So, what made the twerp of a protagonist crack the code? He got a hint from the dead author.
Why can't we go backwards for once? Backwards, really fast as we can.
Rinse and repeat 2 times as a boring straight nerd, 2 not like other girls and 2 Asian stereotypes, win the quest and then afterwards declare the real message of the author is we need to touch grass more, even though the whole quest pushed us not to.
Reality is the only thing that's real.
Instead of trying to subvert the game by whatever means necessary to get $1 billion, everybody just plays the game as intended. Like the movie's whole aesthetic of endless references has occupied the brain space in my head. Is this really the future of virtual reality? Just endless grind mentality while fooling yourself it is a way to escape your lot in life? Consuming content instead of trying to do something you can't do in real life?
We've played your game now, so we can finally agree with the others that you are indeed the world's greatest game artist.
Oh, thanks so much.
You're the first to finish.
Mr. Halliday,
Don't you think the world's greatest game artist ought to be punished for the most effective deforming of reality?
Thanks for playing my game.
One movie about escapism I think about from time to time is The Never-Ending Story. It starts like any story about escapism, with our protagonist from an American cosplaying German town literally running to the attic escaping his troubles. He misses his dead mother, he's being bullied, and he doesn't have the courage to jump from the tallest dive plank. Oh wait, that's the sequel. But instead of reading a book containing a utopic fantasy world, he chooses to read a book about a world that's so dying, the fucking animal companion dies in the first 20 minutes.
I won't give up! Don't quit! Attacks!
It's a story about the potential power of escapism. It allows you not just literal escape, but a safe space in which you can explore and exercise feelings, gain the inner strength to deal with problems in the real world. Suffering from depression caused by grief? Well, a dying, crumbling world where the protagonist also has to overcome griefs sounds very relatable. Even the wise turtles are depressed and apathetic.
If I don't save her, she'll die! There's a terrible nothing sweeping over the land! Don't you care about that?
We don't even care whether or not we care.
Do you have a cold?
But The Never-Ending Story also shows how the lines between the quote-unquote real world and the fantasy world we escape to can be blurry. Throughout the movie, hints are drawn that the protagonist of the book inside the film, Atreyu, is explicitly an avatar for Bastion. And the evil Dark Awu explains that the reason the fantasy world is collapsing is because the people in the real world stop dreaming.
But why?
Because people who have no hopes are easy to control. And whoever has the control has the power.
So the never-ending story argues that escapism and dreaming aren't merely a fun lark. They are necessary things we need to survive and fight a world beating you into depression and ennui. Also, this German movie is a great reminder that not all genre fictions has to be made in America. So if you think all the actors' mouths doesn't match with what they're saying, then I hope you stay in your own fucking country, you unintellectual America! That might seem like the same drift of Ready Player One. People go to Oasis to escape their own crumbling world. Ergo, the need to protect this virtual space from further corporate intrusion seems pressing. And yet the movie ends with Wade going,
We close the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. People need to spend more time in the real world. Reality is the only thing that's real.
Why is this movie ultimately so embarrassed by the restorative use of escapism? Well, like the never-ending story showed, escaping to a fantasy world doesn't necessarily mean the real world and the fantasy world are neatly divided. A fantasy world can be influenced by the real world and its problems. But while Fantasia and Neverending Story is mostly an allegorical world, Oasis just straight up copies capitalism from our world into the metaverse. From the first scene onwards, you see everybody being tied up in VR, down to the movie making an awful cheap joke of fat woman is a stripper in VR. Secondly, and I can't stress this enough, people's actual wealth is tied to their lives in VR.
Since people spend most of their time in the Oasis, losing your shit means, well, losing your shit.
Let me be clear, it's not a bad thing that escapist worlds aren't as closed off from the real world, but it is a problem when the new world replicates and worsens all the problems from the real world. It's exactly the thing that makes the metaverse such an unappealing concept. You mean next to meat space rent, I have to pay V-Bucks rent?
No, you don't have to shoot me!
So, I hear you're the guy.
I am definitely the guy.
Hey Paul, I'm Tane, your latest dancer. I can't wait to entertain you.
Now Tane I can get into.
Hey, tell me the truth. Are we still in a game?
Let's talk about Wade's virtual drip. It's god-awful. He's dressed in the most generic clothes imaginable, like an MMO star that met a pathetic silver-haired anime fuckboy. And yet he's the one saying,
People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do, but they stay because of all the things they can be. Tall, beautiful, scary, a different sex, a different species, live action, cartoon. It's all your call.
Nothing bad with cosplaying a mid-character in VR, but it's kind of telling that how people dress in the Oasis is so corporate approved, it takes a full 45 minutes into the movie for the only big titties furry to appear. Contrast this with what people actually wear in VR spaces. Yes, people are in pop culture characters as well in VR chat, but 1, they're not the only ones appearing there, and 2, glorious Soviet copyright infringement. There's an amount of character freedom that should give libertarians a boner's worth at Prepper's stockpile of Viagra. That is, yeah, a bit questionable.
Now some people in this crowd were completely silent, but some were kids who immediately started jumping on the bed. And then I watched with mounting distress as this guy swapped into the body of a booby anime lady eating a cookie and proceeded to take his clothes off in front of me and the children.
I'm not saying we should tolerate age of consent does not exist libertarianism. Children's spaces and adult spaces should be separate. But I am very much not a proponent of King should don't be in Pride style complete banning of risque expression. And honestly, I would rather see uncomfortably large asses shoved in my virtual eye space than these monstrosities. To demonstrate how important this aspect of expressing yourself in VR is, let's talk about how the movie completely wastes this opportunity. Ake is in real life, shocker, a girl. And Artemis, shocker, has a Hollywood birthmark that's still not that bad. Like VR chat shows, people can use virtual spaces as a way to circumvent disabilities or broaden their own sense of gender.
So we have a very, very broad autism spectrum community. We have a very broad mental health community, LGBT. We have people who choose to be mute in the game for whatever reason due to anxiety. It's a place you can rely on. You know, anytime one of our people need help, they can reach out to us, and we're always there to help them through things.
But the movie doesn't really dwell on this radical prospect other than ooh. Anyway, let's move on. Escapism isn't just escaping to another world. Escapism is taking on the mantle of another persona. Not just to escape yourself, but to possibly explore and broaden your own identity as well. VR chat at least shows this possibility. A lot of users have said that VR chat has been a great space to explore their sense of gender.
I spoke to plenty of people with anime girl avatars who identify as women, but also lots who just feel comfortable in a female body. I spoke to men who told me they were surprised at how much they just enjoyed the feeling of looking cute or desirable. And yeah, I also spoke to a lot of people who just saw their avatar as a long-term technical project, and if you're going to work on something like that, you might as well enjoy looking at it.
Is there any way to generate a nude, Tane?
This is not suitable for work. Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh! I'm okay.
Jimmy, don't do it! We never even got an email address.
So again, why do I harp so much on this movie? It's not like it's a terrible movie, it's more like a mid-movie. It's more that the concept of what virtual reality can be in the minds of tech bros lines up with what Ready Player One depicts. One where virtual spaces aren't an escapism of a brutal capitalist system, but one where you microtransaction your dumbass NFT tokens to be able to access your spaces. Where your avatars aren't queer, big-dicked furry titties, but pre-approved corporate Disney multiverse references. It becomes a problem when your imagination is being limited to only whatever the big tech and big media are offering you. They won't be the ones building and supporting the places where you'll find a community. It's the alternative spaces that serve up a more authentic escapism. One that doesn't just couch you from the horrors of capitalism, but remind you that another world is possible. So, support smaller queer creators. Meet up in weird niche spaces about your weird kink. Heck, maybe go to museums or theater productions where they do weird shows like a guy puking out black paint. Plus, if you want to see lots of random ass characters walking around in the background, go to a Comic-Con.